Running first on the road is never an advantage, and Peter Horsey and Despage Morris naturally backed off more than the others, never being able to fully commit themselves. They got through the first stage with no problem, but broke a damper on the next, losing a minute overall, and for now we're in fourth. Only 1 second behind Horsey were Azhar Anwar with Julius Gige. They were driving hard, anxious for a good result which they desperately needed after a season of ill fortune. The car had been meticulously prepared and for a change was working well. Carl Tundo and Tim Jessup were understandably cautious through the first stage, especially around the bend where they'd ended their rally 2 years ago. It was only on stage 4 that they really began attacking, but the stage became a nightmare when they hit a rock, bent an arm and punctured. They stopped to let Baldir Chaga past and all in all lost 3 minutes, which put them down in 6th. Baldir Chaga and Raju Semi had been running on the wrong tyre pressures early on and were pushing the N12 hard to recover the time lost when all of a sudden the front wishbone snapped and they were out on stage 4.
The whole front left wheel was like about a foot outside the car. So the drive shaft had pulled itself out, the shock was at a bad angle, the wheel will not steer, so yeah, it's just impossible to move forward.
In 7th were Ronald Sebuguzi and Omar Mavania, another of the Ugandan crews. This was their first time to enter a Kenya rally and sensibly decided to acclimatize to the conditions before increasing their pace to that which they are so well known for back home. This was the first time Asad Khan had written his own notes for an event and taken on a lady, Elodie Sampere, to read them. The changes had an immediate impact, and the increased confidence meant they could concentrate more on driving competitively, which reflected in the times they set. They were in 8th.
We came to have a holiday, so I brought in a woman navigator. After the rally, then we probably go swimming or something.
Is he looking after you?
He is, actually. He's taking it a bit easy for the first time around, I think, because it's the first time we're together. No, but it's good. It's a lot of fun.
Izar Mirza and Zahir Shah have yet to finish a rally this year and had packed a picnic and cold box in the boot in case a car let them down again. For now, it was not only behaving, but going so well that Izar was getting faster and faster on each stage. They were in 9th, but were only now beginning to attack. On the safari earlier in the year, Alfred Khan had removed the bumper on his Impreza, which he'd never replaced. On this rally, it was the boot, which fell off on the transport to the first stage.
So this is your answer to air conditioning?
No, not really. I don't know. I think his car is becoming so old, everything is just falling apart. Yeah. One day you might see the car driving into service and I'll be sitting in the stage.
Out on the route, Alfir and Tausif Khan took advantage of the reduced weight to get more speed out of the car and were more than pleased to be in 10th. After 80 kilometers of competitive motoring, Ian Duncan was in the lead by 9 seconds from Alistair Kavanagh, with Jas Mangat in 3rd. Peter Horsey and Azhar Anwar were neck and neck, and Carl Tundo was out of place in 6th. With the rally being run within sight of the coastline, the roads were not as harsh as up-country events, with long stretches of sand where high revs did not always translate into speed. But this is where Ian Duncan and Amos Slachin and Nissan Patrol had an advantage. They continued to set the pace of the rally and by halfway had extended their lead by a further 41 seconds.
It's lovely actually, it's really, really nice. It's always changing a lot. There's nice smooth bits, cutting, and then jumpy bits, so it's good.
And of course you're not backing up too much for the rough either.
We're trying not to, no. That wastes time. If you go really fast, you miss the next 2 holes anyway.
Alistair Kavanagh and Gavin Lawrence made the decision not to challenge Duncan for the lead and were focused on finishing the event, and second would be just fine, but they misjudged their fuel consumption. They were fortunate to make it back to service, but having run dry, had to be pushed in.
We just made a miscalculation on the fueling. But yeah, I mean, if we'd had a special stage to do or something, that would have been the end of it. So yeah, we've definitely been very lucky.
Jas Mangat and Gihan De Silva were having a determined drive, seeing the opportunity of a win. But once again, luck was against them. The steering broke and they were forced into a roll.
Well, we came and I think there was a crack on the steering rack end. So we hit a small stone and we lost the left wheel. So we couldn't control and we just rolled, that's it.
You okay?
Yeah, we are very fine, it's fine.
Third place was inherited by Pt2 and Despage Morris, who were over 2 minutes behind the leaders. It would be impossible to close. Their battle was with Azhar Anwar, who, having gone as quickly as they could, managed to squeeze ahead by 13 seconds.
I mean, it's very challenging. I mean, that long section is actually quite nice once you get into it. The rough stuff is a bit sort of just go fast and hope for the best that you don't hit anything. And for sure, there are quite a few holes out there. And very cleverly, the organisers have put smooth stuff at the end of the stage, so you don't feel so pissed off when you finish.
Azhar Anwar and Julius Gige would have been quicker had the traction control on the Evo 8 been working, but it wasn't. And the erratic handling cost them precious seconds they could ill afford to lose. They dropped back, but with Mangat out, they were now in fourth.
I actually felt the length of the 60-kilometer stage, and I thought I wouldn't because I'm used to long stages. That's because we're driving much harder now. By about 2/3 way through, I was beginning to telling Julius, see that I'm not letting off too much.
Carl Tundo and Tim Jessup had nothing to lose and were driving for stage wins. They were fastest through stage 6, gaining 9 seconds on the leaders, but more importantly, were a full minute on the car ahead on the leaderboard and were now in 5th.
It's been good fun. I'm still braking my car, but I'm having a blast. It's an awesome route. Yeah, and then trying different things, taking different risks and enjoying. It's good. I'm not sure my navigator's enjoying it.
Having the confidence that the Evo 9 was not going to let them down, Iza Mirza and Zahir Shah had offloaded the picnic box and were back to their usual pit pace. They immediately climbed 3 places up the leaderboard to claim 6th, but with 6 minutes between them and the car ahead, it was unlikely they would climb any higher. With 4 stages remaining, Ian Duncan had extended his lead to 50 seconds over Alistair Kavanagh, and Peter Horsey had pulled away from Azhar Anwar. Carl Tundo still had the potential to climb higher, and Iza Mirza slotted into 6th.